Can you arrest a suspect inside a home if they are violating a TPO or a protective order? Hey guys, my name is Anthony Bandiero, attorney and senior legal instructor for Blue to Gold Law Enforcement Training. Bring the roadside chat. All right, a TPO, a temporary restraining order or protective order, an EPO, emergency protective order, whatever you call these are orders by a court that basically tells another person, stay away from a house, stay away from a person, stay away from this business, etc. Okay, all right. So imagine that an officer sees a person inside, let's say the victim's home, right? And the officer knows that that person is not permitted to be inside the home. Can that officer, and obviously the person is violating the restraining order, can the officer enter the home to take that person into custody? Well, I'm going to share with you a few doctrines to keep in mind if you come upon the situation. Number one, the first doctrine is that protective order is not a search warrant, right? That protective order, most likely, 99.9% of the time, did not authorize police to enter anybody's home. It's simply telling a person what they can and cannot do. So just remember that if you are going to do this, don't run back to the courthouse and say, Your Honor, you told me I can do it. But Anthony, it says on the protective order, a violation shall result in arrest and so forth. Well, okay. That doesn't answer the question about how you get into homes though, right? The second doctrine is, okay, if the protective order does not give you the authority to enter homes, how else can you get in home? Well, the second thing is consent, okay? Let's say that the victim here allows you to enter the home under consent and the consent is valid. Can you now take the person into custody? Absolutely. Because what's going on here is that no matter what, at the end of the day, the suspect who has been served with that protective order has no lawful right to be in that home, okay? He has been judicially declared to not have standing, to not have a privacy interest at this particular time in that home. So I don't care if that's his normal residence, if all his stuff is there, if he's the owner of the house, it's just the way it is, right? If a judge has signed a piece of paper telling him or her that they cannot be in that house during this time frame, they have to leave the home. It's just the way it is. But we don't want to violate anybody else's rights that are in the home. So if you don't have consent from the victim, then the last thing that can get you into that house is good old-fashioned exigency. Based on what you know at the time, right? Based on what the victim is saying, how he or she is acting, based on what you know about the perpetrator, their violent tendencies, what this TPO or this protective order has stated, maybe any weapons involved, kids in the home, et cetera, et cetera. Do you have reasons to believe that if you do not enter the home right now and get this guy in custody or girl, that somebody may get injured, right? If the answer is yes, there you go. You have exigency to go arrest him, and that is going to fall under, generally speaking, the emergency aid exception, right? But if you don't have any exigency and you're simply doing it because it's a shell arrest, I personally would not do it. I personally would say, okay, victim, and because these victims do it all the time, by the way. They run to the courthouse to get the protective order, then they get back with the ex, and now the ex is back over there. The police happen to make contact. They see the ex violating the protective order, and the cops want to make the arrest. Well, if you don't have anything more than that, I would leave and come back with a search warrant or an arrest warrant, right? So, but Anthony, what if in the meantime the victim gets hurt or killed? I understand the compelling interest here, right? I understand those arguments, but here's the problem. When you have a free society, when you have this balancing test of crime prevention and freedom, there's always going to be victims, right? Look at the Second Amendment. does the Second Amendment have unfortunate consequences, right? Do bad guys use firearms for bad reasons? The answer is yes. But is the solution to strip everybody from their Second Amendment rights? The answer would be no, because we have a constitutional right for protection. But the point is, it's the same with the Fourth Amendment. The Fourth Amendment is restrictive. It tells you to do things like this. It says things like, hey, if you don't have exigency, consent, or a warrant, then you are going to have to walk away. And then sometimes in extreme cases, but it does happen, sometimes the person gets hurt in the meantime and you didn't know it. It wasn't something that you saw. But that's the consequence of living in a free society. And that's what I want you to know. And it's unfortunate. But, you know, the alternative is to have a dictatorship where the government says you don't need permission from a judge. You go and do what you got to do to go into homes. And that's not society we want to live in either. So just keep this in mind. Those are your three ways into a home: consent, exigency, or an actual warrant. The protective order in and of itself, in my opinion, does not give you the authority, right? Read it. It does not give you authority to enter homes, unless it does. And then if it does, then you do what you got to do. All right. Hope this video has helped you. Get it right every single time. These are at least good conversation starters. I hope that you will leave comments, subscribe to the channel, like it. That's free, right? Please do. All right, guys. Thank you so much. I'll see you next time.